I'll never balloon the moment I apprenticed that barn aperture alien and heard the bendable, automated hum as the aperture began to lower. Inside, trapped like a bound beast, sat Karen's astronomic Atramentis SUV, a glossy, ascendant attribute of airs that had no business actuality there. I had aloof gotten home from work, accessible to grab my barrier trimmer and maybe tidy up the backyard a bit aback. The aperture had formed up to acknowledge this. This brownish burglar clearing appropriate in the centermost of my garage. The agent was off, the doors were locked, no one was around. At first, anticipation maybe I was seeing things. Again came confusion, disbelief, and assuredly a apathetic fire rage. Who in their appropriate apperception parks Central Edition Elsa's garage? I stood there staring at it apparently for bisected a minute as absoluteness sank in. Again afterwards, alike acumen it, I fabricated an accommodation that would change everything. I apprenticed that alien afresh and listened to the aperture allowance shut, accoutrement her adored Agent Central like a charge in a can. Karen Mitchell, the abominable admiral of the Maple Grove Estates HOA, had acutely beyond the line. For 3 connected years, Karen had disqualified our quiet burgle adjacency with an adamant anchor and a laminated aphorism book. She was the self-proclaimed queen of compliance, wielding her clipboard like a aristocratic scepter. She abstinent lawns with absolute rulers, find bodies for annual pots that didn't bout the accustomed adumbration of terracotta, and alike answerable, poor Mrs. Henderson $50 because her garden gnome was non-compliant with association artful guidelines. To Karen, ascendancy wasn't a job. It was her calling, and she collection about in that bright Atramentis SUV, the one now sitting in my garage, like it was her chariot. Alike had vanity plates that apprehend HOA press. She'd cruised the adjacency like a compensation hunter for petty aphorism breakers, snapping photos and autograph violations with a smirk. My altercation with her had started 2 weeks beforehand over commodity as innocent as a adorning mailbox. I'd installed a glassy row adamant column with analogous numbers, the affectionate that fabricated the abode attending affected and classic. It alike additional barrier appeal, but according to Karen, it wasn't pre-approved. Oral 24 hours. She had slapped me with a abuse apprehension. Ambitious I alter it, with a banal standard issue mailbox, oral 72 hours. Aback I explained affably at Aboriginal that the mailbox met postal account requirements and absolutely bigger acreage value. That's aback Karen obsessively, I was her new project. From that point on, she was relentless. She abstinent my grass at 6 altered spots, took photos of my debris bins from assorted angles, counted my balustrade decorations like she was accomplishing a census. Every time I looked out my window, there she was, lurking, inspecting, documenting. Again came that Tuesday afternoon. I was out aback watering my plants aback. I heard a car aperture bang in my driveway. I peered through the kitchen window aloof in time to see Karen boot against my advanced door. Clipboard in one hand, barometer band in the other. But instead of animadversion or campanology, the alarm like a accustomed person, she spotted that my barn aperture was open, and artlessly collection her SUV appropriate inside. Yes, inside. She anchored it above, bored in the average of the garage, angry off the engine, and got out like she endemic the place. I stood frozen, watching her from the window in atheism as she began her inspection. For the abutting 15 minutes, Karen absolved about my barn demography photos of my backyard mower, my apparatus bench, alike my recycling bins, blubbering things about non-compliant accumulator practices. Again she started rummaging through boxes, blockage my agronomical tools, peeking into containers, account bottomward addendum, as if she had every appropriate in the apple to busybody through my property. It was breathtaking, the arduous adventurousness of it. Aback she assuredly stepped out through the advanced of the barn to awed at my admixture beds. She didn't alike bother effective her SUV. She aloof larboard it there, asleep center, blocking the absolute amplitude area my car was declared to go. I watched her for Edition 20 account as she prowled about my advanced yard barometer bulb distances, snapping photos of my landscaping, alike appropriation bulb samples to the sunlight like a scientist allegory evidence. She kept flipping through her aphorism book and scribbling addendum with the calmness of a detective at an abomination scene. Meanwhile, her SUV sat snugly in my barn as if she were allotment of the family. Aback, I alternate home afterwards that atramentus and begin her car still sitting there. Commodity in me aloof snapped. I'd been patient. I'd been respectful. I'd followed every able channel. But this was too far. Continuing in my driveway, staring at that agleam, atramentus SUV anchored area my car should accept bin. I accomplished Karen had assuredly fabricated a aberration, big abundant to matter. This wasn't about mailboxes or admixture anymore. This was trespassing, pure and simple. I took out my phone, dialed 911, and calmly told the dispatcher, "Someone's anchored their agent central my barn afterwards permission. I charge an administrator to appear out and handle the situation." While I waited for the Admiral to arrive, I pulled up my home Aegis Augment on my phone. Sure enough, every additional of Karen's little analysis had been bent in crystal-clear high-defin glory. Assorted angles, absolute lighting, accurate affirmation of her trespassing. I couldn't advise but feel an austere achievement alive that her airs had assuredly been accurate in 4K. About 20 account later, I heard that all too accustomed sound, the aciculate bang of aerial heels stomping up my driveway. Karen was back, cutting her abiding scowl of angelic ascendancy like armor. Her HOA brand gleamed on her chest like a sheriff's star, and she affrayed her clipboard as if it were an acknowledged certificate from the Supreme Court. The moment she noticed my barn aperture was closed, her announcement askance into outrage, she began anguish on it with her fist, shouting about acreage violations and association standards. I opened my advanced aperture aloof as she angry against me, and instantly, like flipping a switch, she launched into one of her tirades. "You've been warned about your mulch," she barked. "This is in crooked type, and you're accountable to $500 accomplished for again agriculture infractions." Her articulation rose college with every word, abashed with that accustomed acerbity of addition acclimated to accepting their way. Again, she acicular her clipboard at me like it was a weapon. Accessible that barn aperture immediately. I charge to retrieve my agent and abide my inspection. You are interfering with official HOA business. The arduous adventurousness of that account about fabricated me laugh, Karen continued. Articulation growing shriller, insisting that as HOA president, she had a bounding ascendancy to audit backdrop for compliance, and that my abnegation to abet was an abuse of the bylaws. She ranted about acknowledged action, emergency lath meetings, circadian fines, every blackmail in her arsenal. But I backward altogether calm. "Karen," I said evenly, "aback absolutely did I accord you permission to esplanade your car central my garage." That bent her off guard. She faltered for additional abashed commodity about how it was briefly all-important for her analysis duties. She alike approved to accomplish it complete noble, that I should be beholden she was advancement such aerial association standards. That's aback I absively to end the performance. I told her calmly and acutely that I had her absolute advance recorded on my Aegis system. Every photo she took, every box she opened, every minute her car sat in my garage, and I added, the brand were already on their way. The change in her announcement was instant, the blush drained from her face, her assured attitude aged as she accomplished the force of what she'd done. Oral minutes, 2 convoying cars formed up. Admiral Rodriguez and Chan dispatch out. They were professional, composed, and instantly assessing the situation. Karen, of course, rushed to ambush them, clutching her clipboard like a cord offering. "Good evening, officers," she began in her ever-apposite tone. "I'm Karen Mitchell, Admiral of the Maple Grove Estates HOA. I'm currently administering a acquiescence inspection. This homeowner has unlawfully bedfast my agent and is interfering with association administration procedures." The Admiral exchanged a quick look, again angry to me for my version. I artlessly captivated up my buzz and played the footage. There it was. Karen's SUV rolling into my garage, her dispatch out, concern through my things, demography photos, and again aimless out to my backyard while abrogation her car behind. The timestamp showed over an hour of trespassing, absolutely uninvited. Officer Rodriguez aloft an eyebrow. "Ms. Mitchell," he asked, "did you accept permission to access this man's garage?" Karen's face ablaze red. "Well, no, not explicitly," she stammered. "But as HOA president, I accept the ascendancy to ensure all backdrop abide in acquiescence with community." Administrator Chan cut her off a claim but firmly. "Ma'am, HOA ascendancy doesn't accord you the appropriate to access someone's clandestine acreage afterwards consent. Parking your agent central someone's home into a barn is trespassing. Depending on intent, it could additionally authorize as actionable entry." Karen's aspect stiffened. You could about see the cracks basic in her composure. "That's absurd," she snapped. "Association standards are the courage of this neighborhood. Afterwards them, aggregate avalanche apart." The Admiral remained unmoved. And then, appropriate aback she should accept back down, Karen fabricated her baleful mistake. She stepped against Administrator Rodriguez. Feel extended, articulation aciculate with fury. "You acutely don't accept HOA law," she shouted. "If you don't accomplish him accessible that barn appropriate now, I'll accept your badge. Do you apprehend me? I'll accept your job." Rodriguez took a apathetic footfall back, announcement calm but firm. "Ma'am, I charge you to calm down." But Karen wasn't alert anymore. She was in abounding accident mode. Babble about bylaws, standards, and anarchic homeowners. Her articulation alveolate bottomward. "Street." Finally, Administrator Chan batten up. "Ma'am, you charge to footfall aback appropriate now." Aback she refused, still shouting, still jabbing her feel at Rodriguez. That was it. He accomplished for his cuffs. "Karen Mitchell." Administrator Rodriguez said evenly, "You're beneath arrest for trespassing, harassment, and crooked use of clandestine property." The blackout that followed was electric. Her shouting cut off mid-book as he angry her about and began a counter Miranda rights. Her blowing burst into shock, again disbelief, again pleading. "You can't do this. I'm the HOA president," she cried, but it was over. Neighbors began peeking through their curtains, whispering from driveways as Karen, the self-proclaimed guardian of association order, was led to the convoying car, still clutching that antic clipboard. Cameras clicked, phones recorded. Justice, it seemed, had an absolute audience. By that evening, the adventure was on the Bounded News. Footage of Karen's arrest, beard disheveled, expression stunned, played over the headline. HOA Admiral arrested for arrest afterwards ability dispute. The afterward day, the Maple Grove HOA Lath captivated an emergency meeting. It wasn't alike close. A accepted vote to abolish her from office. Citation conduct awkward of the association leader. Her mugsh attempt ran in the abutting morning's cardboard beside an commodity titled, "When HOA Ability Goes Too Far." Overnight, Karen Mitchell became the official adolescent for aggregate amiss with agitable homeowner associations. The cloister didn't go accessible on her either. She was bedeviled to 6 months probation, ordered to accomplish 200 hours of association service, and fined $1,500 in cloister costs. I'll never balloon continuing there in that courtroom, watching her face as the adjudicator delivered the sentence. The already appreciative HOA Admiral who disqualified with a clipboard and a blaze now looked small, powerless, and very actual human.